Good morning.
Good morning.
Labor Day weekend. Isn't it hard to believe that fall is coming on fast? What a wonderful summer it's been. Thank you for being here at UUCF in the sanctuary and to those viewing online. As you can see, I'm retired UAW member, Local 5960. I transitioned through a plant closing here in Flint, ended my career in Lake Orion Assembly. I hired in at 19, retired at 49. I feel blessed every day. And I'm thankful for the benefits, opportunities presented to me, and all the people I met along the way. My name's Terry Cross. I'm your worship associate today at our lay-led service featuring Sarah Lynn. Sarah is a daughter of Mary Temple, an active member of the Brighton UU congregation. She's an adventurer, a writer, whose past jobs include sideshow performer, balloon artist, corn dog slinger. In her free time, Sarah likes to paint postcards, collect stickers. She travels in a tiny house. I want her life, you know, and I have to admit, after she sent me that bio, I couldn't wait to meet her. So thank you so much for being with us. Her message of Be a Good Stranger. Central theme will be showing kindness in situations where one's first inclination might be to shut down or run away. In 3 short stories from her road life, a car accident in California, yikes, meeting a homeless couple in Montana, participating in community safety in Colorado, she will highlight how strangers have helped her and how she's tried to play it forward, actions we can all aspire to. I stumbled across this quote on Facebook this week. There's a quiet comfort in knowing I have not yet crossed paths with all of the people who will bring magic into my life. C.M. Cleese. I am a do talk to strangers kind of gal, so I'm very much looking forward to hear from Sarah today. We've got a few announcements. Let's see, after the service, picnic Sunday, September 10th. Bring a picnic lunch for yourself and or family. Join us on our back lawn for a near timeless tradition, the after church picnic. This is also in-gathering Sunday when we admit to ourselves that summer vacations must end. And getting together is good. Picnic lunches will be provided for visitors. You also have to announce Kanisha Harvey, our bright, beautiful office administrator, has accepted a new position and will be leaving us. It has been such a pleasure to work with her, especially as one who does these lay-led services. She's always patient and joyful throughout the process. She'll be greatly missed, so please stop by and sign a card for her downstairs in the social hall. Those will be available the next 2 Sundays. And now we will light our chalice. For there was always light, if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it. Amanda Gorman. And if you will, please recite the covenant with me. Recognizing the richness of diversity, the beauty and wonder of shared worship, and the transforming power of love and service. We gather as a sacred, intentional community to freely seek knowledge and truth, to celebrate the fullness of life, and by our actions to increase goodness and justice. Please feel free to sing along or snap your fingers with our incoming music.
Skin and bones, a mind that's weak and a back that's strong. You load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up my shovel and walked to the mine. I loaded 16 tons of number 9 coal, and the straw boss said, well, bless my soul, he loaded 16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. Saint Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. I was born one morning, it was drizzling rain. Fight and trouble on my middle name. I was raised in the canebrake by an old mama lion. Can no high-toned woman make me walk the line? I load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. If you see me coming, better step aside. A lot of men didn't, a lot of men died. One fist of iron, the other is steel. If the right don't get you, then the left one will. You 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. St. Peter, don't you call me, 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store.
Thank you, Dan. One of my mother's favorite performers. Thank you, thank you. Our opening words. This reading is from local author David Smith's column called Monday Morning. I was introduced to this writer by our own Marion Van Winkle. His weekly stories are a wonderful way to begin the week. This one is from September 2nd, 2019. Greetings from where we labor. He was pushing a dozen shopping carts in front of him, a task made harder by the snow that collected around the wheels. Same guy I'd seen 3 other seasons. I waited for him to catch up to me and park the train of carts in front of the store, wanting to ask him a question. He wore an orange vest over his parka and a knit cap pulled down so low it covered the top of his glasses. I said hello to him a few times before it registered, and when he looked at me, I saw this: a boy trapped in a young man's body, struggling to keep the pieces together long enough to get these carts where they belong.
Somebody's son, somebody's little brother, working.
I forgot what I meant to ask and just said, thank you.
Last summer, I ran past a county road maintenance truck, bright orange with coordinating dark rust spots. There was a guy in coveralls shoveling up roadkill and putting most of it in a bin in the bed of the truck, the rest flung into the tall grass in the ditch. I could smell the decay and was lucky enough to run from it. He was not. I looked back and watched him lean on the truck.
Somebody's dad, somebody's golf buddy, working. And Thorpe, would you move the slides with the workers? Where's my garbage man, huh? There we go. Okay. And now I need my dishwasher, please. Thank you. I ran along the streets of New Orleans and I saw a dishwasher and a waiter at Cafe Du Monde sitting outside the back of the restaurant smoking. They were exhausted. I could feel the ache from them, see the fatigue in their faces. Behind them, the noise, the steam of the kitchen rumbled, already demanding they get back to serving.
They are somebody's neighbor somebody's friend, working. Cab drivers in any city you name, barely able to navigate the language, first job off the boat from wherever they fled. Maybe they can't make small talk. Maybe they don't smell the same as you. Maybe their last name has too many syllables.
But they are somebody's boyfriend, somebody's cousin, working. I like this one. I was in the grocery store and I walked around a brightly colored cardboard display and saw a small, somewhat confused-looking woman pouring shot glasses of liquor, offering free samples to shoppers. Instantly, I tried to imagine the interview that took place where the people making hiring decisions chose this 4'7" septuagenarian to sell tequila, which she kept calling whiskey. Maybe it was her first day, maybe she just didn't get the concept. She might be at home canning beets or putting together jigsaw puzzles, but instead, she was hawking tequila at the end of the frozen food aisle.
Somebody's grandmother, working. This nurse on the 12-hour shift, taking care of your mom. This hotel clerk who is smiling, trying to find the right Smith in the computer. This guy in the parking lot at the funeral home. There is someone feeding the peacocks, raking the sand, inspecting the oak barrels, emptying the porta-johns, teaching your children, serving your breakfast. They are somebody's sister, somebody's pen pal, somebody's babysitter. They matter to somebody. We need to remember that when we decide how we're going to treat them. We need to remember when we dole out whatever measure of respect we have to give.
Now, before you get the wrong impression, I have been known to lose my patience with people who are failing to do the work given to them, perhaps at my inconvenience. I'm a demanding consumer, and I've had some practice. But I'm also learning that despite my typical reaction, that isn't who I want to be. I'm a far better person. Somewhere deep inside this spoiled exterior, I will admit some impatience with the TSA process in airports, don't we all? Planes strain to leave for their destination, barely considering that I am the reason for their existence. Between me and successfully completing our destiny is a comedy of airport security. I was in my socks, pants sagging, beltless, pockets empty, simmering with indignation. Self-righteous phrases flit through my mind, connecting my importance and the money paid for this ticket with the value of the service I am seeing and what I would do differently if I was running things. But not a proud moment, and unfortunately, not uncommon. And here was a TSA agent dancing next to the X-ray machine. A young woman just making her way from one station to the next broke into a robot dance. We locked eyes halfway through it, and she said, "Oh, sorry, you're not supposed to see that," laughing. And then I danced with her the rest of the way.
Somebody's daughter, somebody's dance partner, working. Thankfully, something cracked in my self-important consumer role, the one that has all the answers and all the judgment and all the muttering about the world today. And I saw another human being, somebody's niece, just doing her job, working.
It's Labor Day, but I'm asking you to set aside a little baggage. Forget unions, politics, pay, equity, social issues around workplace. I wonder if today, maybe just this week even, we could acknowledge the labor of others without any agenda except one: respect. Those people you meet at the deli counter and the car wash are somebody's everything. They are somebody's dream, somebody's helper, somebody's best part of the day. They are working not just to serve you, but as part of a life that exists beyond your momentary exchange. Somehow they trade what they can do for what they can be paid in the hopes that it will matter enough. Not every job is satisfying or inspirational. Not every career that exists is populated with people for whom the work is a good match. Not everyone loves what they do or is good at it. And oh, by the way, sometimes that's true for us. Been there, done that. We can see ourselves, our loved ones, in the people working. We can give them what we would hope others would give our son. We can show respect, kindness, empathy. We can, at the very minimum, treat the barista who got your name wrong like our niece instead of a terrorist. It's Labor Day. Find one place where you can thank someone for the work they do. Give them what the paycheck and the dirty dishes and the rotting carcasses and the short-tempered travelers may not, the satisfaction and the pride in being acknowledged for a piece of life they traded to do the work.
Hope this finds you dancing along.
They're closing all the factories down. Out in Bethlehem, they're killing time, filling out forms, standing in line. Well, our fathers fought the Second World War, spent their weekends home on the Jersey Shore. Met our mothers in the USO, asked them to dance, dance with them slow. Living here in Allentown, but the restlessness was handed down, and it's getting very hard to stay. Well, we're waiting here in Allentown for the Pennsylvania we never found. All the promises our teachers gave, if we work hard, if we behave. So our graduations hang on the wall, but they never really helped us at all. No, they never taught us what was real. Iron and coke, chromium steel. And we're waiting here in Allentown, but they've taken all the coal from the ground, and the union people crawled away. Every child had a pretty good shot to get at least as far as their old man got. But something happened on the way to that place. They threw an American flag in our face. Well, I'm living here in Allentown, and it's hard to keep a good man down, but I won't be getting up today. And it's getting very hard to stay, and we're living here in Allentown.
In a moment, you'll be invited to sit back, relax, take a deep breath, enjoy a moment of stillness in a busy world, to be followed by candle lighting. You're invited to light a candle of joy or sorrow. Share with the congregation by writing in the book at the back of the sanctuary. But first, a poem to reflect upon, gifted to me this past week by one of my favorite librarians at the Gloria Coles Flitt Public Library. Good Bones by Maggie Smith. Life is short, though I keep this from my children. Life is short, and I've shortened mine in 1,000 delicious, ill-advised ways. 1,000 deliciously ill-advised ways. I'll keep that from my children. The world is at least 50% terrible, and that's a conservative estimate, though I keep this from my children. For every bird, there's a stone thrown at a bird. For every loved child, a child broken, bagged, sunk in a lake. Life is short, and the world is at least half terrible. And for every kind stranger, there is one who would break you, though I keep this from my children. I'm trying to sell them the world. Any decent realtor walking you through a real shithole chirps on about good bones. This place could be beautiful, right? You could make this place beautiful.
Good morning, and thanks for inviting me here. I live on the road in my tiny house and my great big truck. I travel for a few months at a time, staying in friends' driveways where I can, and Walmart parking lots on the road in between. It's free, and I meet a lot of interesting people out there. Strangers. Other people who live on the road, some in $300,000 RVs with slide outs and satellite TV, and others in barely roadworthy vans held together with coat hangers and duct tape. One of my mother's favorite stories involves the strangers I met in July of 2021 in the Billings, Montana Walmart parking lot. I had been driving east out of Seattle for several days, stopping overnight in Spokane, Washington, and then Missoula and Bozeman, Montana. Billings was my last stop before Wyoming, and I was, as always, relieved to be pulling into my stop for the night after my usual pace of 300 miles of driving per day. I immediately spotted some positive signs in the parking lot: a modern RV on one side of the lot and a boxy old van on the opposite end. The van was parked in the shade provided by some pine trees growing along a fence line. And a few parking spots away, another familiar but less positive sign was a homeless native couple sitting under a pine tree. They were begging with a cardboard sign. My heart clenched as I remembered the days not that long ago in 2016 when I was begging on the side of the road holding a cardboard sign. I parked along the shady fence line and began setting up for the night, bracing for the conversation I knew I was about to have. The couple approached me and asked if I had any money. I answered truthfully that I had no cash on me. I felt so thoughtless and unprepared. They thanked me anyway and complimented my tiny house. We exchanged a few more pleasantries, and then they returned to the shade as I continued in my tiny domestic tasks. But I had an idea. I had seen a Jimmy John's on my way to the Walmart, and I called them up. I explained that I was in an unusual-looking camper in the Walmart parking lot and asked if they would deliver to me, although I wasn't a traditional address. They agreed, and I excitedly placed my order. A few minutes later, a car pulled up. Despite my worries, the delivery driver had no problem finding me. I do tend to stick out in a parking lot. There aren't many other fairy tale cabins or cottages on wheels. There was a sub sandwich for me and one extra. As the driver headed back to Sandwich HQ, I walked over to the homeless couple under the tree. "Here," I said, holding out the sandwich. "I'm sorry I didn't have any cash on me earlier, but I hope you'll like this sandwich. I couldn't order dinner and not include you." They were so grateful, and I was so relieved. I felt like such a jerk for not having even a single dollar on me when everywhere I go, it seems that homelessness is up and services are down. I retreated to my tiny house to eat my dinner. I didn't want to intrude on them, and I didn't want them to feel like they had to perform for me. I had been in that situation when I was homeless. Someone would buy me a burger and then demand to watch me eat it, as if when they turned their back, I would be able to magically hawk the burger and turn it into $3.59 worth of drugs. The hot afternoon coasted to a warm and breezy summer night. I was just starting to get curious about the sunset-splashed clouds I could see through my window when there was a knock at the door. It was the couple from under the tree, and they had come bearing a gift for me, a pair of popsicles. "It's been so hot all day," they said. "That sandwich was really nice, and you didn't have to do that, so we wanted to split some popsicles with you." Now, a brief aside is that I actually have a tattoo of a popsicle on my right arm. It's an orange twin pop, and the art is based off of The Great Popsicle from the book Borgle by Daniel Pinkwater. In this book, a trio of road trippers are on a quest to find the Great Popsicle, which is the center of all love and goodness in the universe. And now, here were two strangers offering me 2 popsicles on a hot summer day. Out of their meager donations from panhandling, they thought about my comfort and enjoyment and decided to spend their money on popsicles to share. If that's not the center of love and goodness, I don't know what is. This time we sat together, eating our perfect popsicles on the perfect summer night. We swapped some adventure stories and talked about the places we wanted to see, but there was more silence than talking. The sky was bright pink and orange, and the pavement was exuding an almost living warmth. And with every slurp and bite of popsicle, I thought to myself, how lucky am I to be here right now, in the company of such kind and generous people. I slept through the night, troubled that I couldn't offer my new friends any shelter, but at the same time relieved that someone friendly was watching over me. In the morning, I got up quickly and hustled inside the Walmart. I needed some routine supplies, coffee and snacks, but I also needed some cash back, and then I dashed back to make sure I hadn't missed my chance. I was in luck. I was worried the couple might have moved on, but they were still there, under the tree. They were packing up, though, just like I would be soon. "Don't leave yet," I called, and I gave them a 20. Thank you both so much for the popsicles and for watching over me. I hope this helps." "Thank you. Thanks for the sandwich, and thanks for this," they replied, and we went our separate ways. Some strangers are people with the least and giving the most. But some strangers are people with a lot doing the unexpected. In early June of 2021, on my way north through California, I got into a solo car accident around Ukiah. The hitch that connects my trailer to my truck came apart, and the tongue of the trailer punched right through the rear gate of my truck. But I was only on the side of the road for 5 minutes, waiting to connect with my vehicle's satellite helpline, when a retired truck driver named Jim pulled over to help me. Jim immediately assessed my damage, which was luckily mostly cosmetic. Using spare parts he had in the back of his big work truck, he reconnected my trailer to my truck and asked me to follow him home to his workshop, where he could give me a more permanent fix. I felt safe around him, and despite knowing nothing more about this man, I decided to follow him home. While we were driving, I noticed he had a familiar and somewhat sinister sticker on the back of his truck. He was a 3%er, a supporter of anti-government militias. Probably nothing, I thought to myself. True to his word, when we got back to Jim's house, he opened up his big 3-bay garage workshop and started customizing a part for me. I was on the phone with my mom and sister, figuring out where I would go next to get body work done. I admired Jim's house and property. He was right next to an RV park, and he had a garage full of tools with a tiny 2-person airplane and lots of classic motorcycles. When I came back to check on Jim and my new truck part, I noticed something else: a Trump flag hanging over his workbench. I thought about the sticker on Jim's truck and the flag. This is not a person I would have approached for help if I had seen these things first. But he pulled over on a busy highway to approach me, and he invited me back to his house after he got a good close look at me. I'm not always the best judge of character, but I did not think Jim was going to murder me, in spite of his political affiliations. Jim finished the new hitch part, reassembled my trailer hitch, and reattached it to my truck. I was good to go. But he wouldn't let me take off without doing one more kind thing for me. He drove in front of me, back to the highway, to personally point to the correct ramp for me to take. I felt like a daughter, or at least like a very well-loved niece. In spite of his politics, Jim invited me into his home, worked on my vehicle, then led me back to the highway lest I get lost. My amazing stranger luck worked again. And at Rainbow Gathering, in July of 2022, I met all sorts of strangers who rallied together to keep their community safe. Rainbow Gathering took place deep in the forested mountains of northwest Colorado. The nearest town was 30 miles away, across narrow switchbacks and roads with fast-moving water flowing over them. But that's the only way to get cell phone signal, so every 2 days, I would trek down the mountain and back again to visit civilization. It was during my second trip back from town, when I was almost in sight of the spot where I had parked my tiny house, that I ran into a roadblock. 5 Forest Service vehicles, about a dozen cops, and a cluster of teenage hippies and young people surrounding an older bearded man who was clearly in trouble. The hippies had caught the man creeping around children, and the man had previously been kicked out of a gathering in New Mexico after being caught predating on a child. Now, the hippie kids and the cops told me they had to get this man off the mountain somehow. But he hadn't actually committed a crime yet, so the cops wouldn't arrest him. Would I be willing to drive him out of town? No. I said yes. The cops were so thankful, one of them pulled a $20 bill out of his wallet and gave it to me for gas money. And one of the hippies would be going with me, a barefoot teenager armed with a knife he had wrestled away from the man which the cops had allowed him to keep. And before we took off, the cops knocked on my passenger window and handed my teenage bodyguard a pair of zip ties in case he gets rowdy. Colorado's finest, ladies and gentlemen. 30 miles down the mountain and another 20 miles west, I hoped we were far enough away that the child molester would not be able to walk back before the end of the gathering. My teenage bodyguard delivered a very stern speech when we pulled over to let the man out, and I ruined it by handing him $6 and saying, "This is for food, make good choices." All during the drive back, my teenage bodyguard and I processed what had just happened, what we had done, all of it. A cop gave me $20. We were given zip ties to use on another human being with no training, no due process. Most of all, we talked about what it meant to try and protect the 10,000 people back at Rainbow Gathering from this one man. Had we done the right thing? It was easy to take on the task of protecting innocent children, but didn't we also owe this man something? What do we owe to someone who wants to harm others? Later, elders and longtime Rainbow Gathering attendees told me that not only had I helped protect the children, but I may have in fact protected that man from being killed by an angry parent. So to that man, whose name I was never told, I might have been his kind stranger. No one else had wanted to let him into their cars, but I had accepted him as a passenger and taken him as far as I could. Strangers make the road trip work. It's a long way between friends' houses, and every gas station and Walmart I stop at is a bit of a gamble. Will people see my tiny house and rainbow hair, my tattoos, and be curious or hostile? I've had bad stranger interactions too. I've seen people leave in a huff because they don't want to be in the same space as me. I've gotten aggressive looks from men in big red trucks covered with bumper stickers advertising their enthusiasm for racism and murder. But then I think about Rainbow Gathering and Jim and the couple from under the tree at the Billings, Montana Walmart. And I remember why I do this. I remember what kind of person I want to be, not just when I'm on the road, but all the time. I want to be a good stranger. If someone is in need, I want to help. I want to order that extra sandwich, carry water and Gatorade in my truck, and just generally be on alert to redistribute my good luck and my material wealth at all times. Of course, no one, including me, can help every single person every single time. That's the path to being broke and burnt out, and I speak from experience. And when I think about the couple under the tree and some of the other memorable folks I've met along the way, I don't think that's what they would want for me. I think the most important part of being a good stranger is simply being friendly, in a world full of people who are often callous and cruel, sometimes for fun. The couple under the tree were kind to me right from the start, even when I had nothing to offer them. If I have any kind of guiding principle or true north, it's this: be a good stranger. That's my whole thing. I don't put down roots well, I don't stay put well. I'm often moving through places quickly and temporarily. So I am often a stranger, but I hope a good one. I try to be a good guest in food and retail environments. I'm rarely, if ever, in a rush. I am patient. I will tip 50%. I am okay with an alternative thing because the thing I came for is out of stock. Just operating like this, I swear I can see fast food employees visibly relax around me. And I try to be a good stranger to people I meet outside. If you see me on a sidewalk or a hiking trail, at a yoga class or a flea market, I probably have snacks and first aid supplies and a battery bank in my bag. Need more than that? Let's check my truck. But even without all of that, the most important part of being a good stranger is being friendly. It's being welcoming to people who are forgotten and ignored. A 5-minute conversation with a kind person who isn't judging me or suspicious of me can lift my mood and carry me through hours or even days. And I have no way of knowing, but I hope that somewhere out there, someone feels the same way about me. I hope I was the ray of light they needed to keep going through stormy weather.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Sarah. We have some stories we'll swap from my daughter's adventures at Rainbow Gathering, and the best popsicles are in St. Augustine, Florida. Habanero peach was my favorite. Okay, moment of generosity. What will matter is the good we did, not the good we expected others to do. Elizabeth Lesser. Needed. Your gift of generosity, which allows us to carry on as a liberal beacon in this community. Donations can be placed in the basket at the back of the sanctuary. They can also be made online at our website, uuflint.org, or mailed to the church office. Thank you. Your support is greatly appreciated. Closing words. To Be of Use by Marge Piercy. The people I love the best jump into work head first, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves an ox to a cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to the harvest and work in a row, pass the bag along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is as common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing well done has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real. And now, join me to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
And if you would like to sing along, you're welcome.
And yawn and stretch and try to come to life. Jump in the shower and the blood starts pumping. Out on the streets the traffic starts jumping with folks like me on the job 9 to 5. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5 for service and devotion. You would think that I would deserve a fair promotion. Want to move ahead, but the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that man is out to get me. They let you dream just to watch them shatter. You're just a step on the boss man's ladder, but you've got dreams and he'll never take them away. In the same boat with a lot of your friends, waiting for the day your ship to come in, and the tide's gonna turn and it's all gonna row you away. Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. They just use your mind and you never get the credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5 for service and devotion. You would think that I would deserve a fair promotion. Want to move ahead, but the boss won't let me have me. I swear sometimes that man is out to get me. Work 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving. Just use your mind and you never get the credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it. 9 to 5, yeah, they got you where they want you. There's a better life than you think about it, don't you? It's rich man's game, no matter what they call it, and you spend